I'm Molly Rosenthal. I'm the National Account Manager for the Northeast for Mohawk. My job is to wander around and talk to people. Seems like a nice job. I like to say, today was a sunny day, right? One of the beautiful fall days that we feel in New England. And I happen to have been given a convertible for my birthday in July. So I was so excited to drive here today, because usually I take the train back and forth. So I left this morning my house around 6:30. It was 54 degrees. I had a hat and mittens and my coat on, but the top was down. And the top was down so that I could sing beautiful songs for the 4 hours to get here. And little by little, I took layers off, and I got out of the car, and I have a little sore throat. I was like, oh my gosh, I sang so loud that I won't be able to talk. So hopefully it won't happen. So welcome, and thank you to Shawmut for putting this together. We feel like people are hungry for information, and being we are chatty souls, we are happy to give it to you. So today we're going to go over the Field Guide, which is a new tool for designers. Everybody here in this room a designer? No, you are a marketer? Okay, good, wonderful. Anybody anything else? Wonderful. So I know how to talk to it. So I'm not going to pass it out yet, because the minute I pass it out, here's what happens. You're looking at me, you're engaged, you're excited, and then I pass this out and you are doing this, and you're looking down, and you're into the book, right? You're all about the materials. So I'm going to talk about why we did it, and then we'll pass them out to you. We found a couple of things. The first is that the material that is really the tactile part of what you're designing, whether it be a brochure or a postcard or a business card, is often left last. It's almost the forgotten ingredient in what you do. You hire a really wonderful photographer. You get the best writer you can get. You have somebody in marketing to write the best creative strategy brief there is. You pick a font, you have a Pantone color, and then you send your job off to the printer and you say, use what's on the floor. Or you say, put it uncoated, or just make it 80-pound cover. We say, this is an important part of what you do, and you should bring the specification of paper to the forefront of the project. You know, yes, is it selfish? Because we don't make just white, shiny paper. We make beautiful uncoated paper. For those of you that don't know, we are located in upstate New York, 4 hours from here, where the Mohawk and the Hudson River come together. Water is our main ingredient next to pulp. And we make beautiful papers 7 days a week, 364 days a year, I guess. We say, come visit. We love to have tours. If you've never seen paper made, whether you're making toilet paper, paper towels, or beautiful text and cover, it is water, ingredients, and process. We all use it in everything that we do. We should know how it's made. So I put the offer out there. Please send us a note. You know, get a group together. It's a great inspirational day to come visit with us. Not only do you get to see paper being made, but we also sort of give you a little sneak peek at what we're working on. We love to get feedback. We love to know, you know what, I like this, but I don't like that. So we like real world information. So when you come on a tour, we'll actually show you what we're working on. In addition to that, we'll take you to our Innovation Center where we have digital equipment. If you've always been afraid to ask somebody exactly how that technology works, or they don't have time to really teach you, lift up the hood and show you, we will teach you what digital is from the ground up. We'll also give you an opportunity to see the Strathmore Archives. And the Strathmore Archives is 7,000 items from the Strathmore Paper Company. Literally, we almost threw them away. We bought the Strathmore line from the Fine Paper Division of IP about 10 years ago. And with it came all these skid-wrapped skids of stuff that sat in our warehouse getting really dusty, until the manager of the shop said, we're going to throw these away if somebody doesn't come down here. Our creative director went down and said, holy cow, look what we have. We have one of every job, including every newsletter for Strathmore for 60 years that came out every single week. every ledger, every check, and every job, including the first swatch book ever made. You can imagine what size it was. We wonder if that's where the size came from. In the late 1800s, it is 6x9, like our swatches are now, with 2 little chips that look like Pantone chips stapled in the middle of one of the pages. So things like that, up to, you know, how the Strathmore logo changed over the 100 years. So we say, if you want to be inspired by something really cool, come and spend some time with us. So here you go. I'm going to pass them out. Do me a favor and don't open them. I know it's hard. Just hold them for a moment. So one of the things, for those of you that are close to my age, we feel like what's happened in the graphic arts business is, you know, 2000 came and 2008 came and 2009 came, and all of a sudden the internet took over, right? Printing went a different way. It went digital. We put lots of things online. We didn't spend a lot of time doing print. Remember, print was going to be dead. I noticed if you've been out to the press floor, there's a sign between the presses that says, print is alive. Print is alive, thank goodness, because it is the way I make my living. But also, it's alive because we're sort of numb to the technology of the screen, right? Can anybody tell me how many emails they had today? How many did you have to follow up on? How many did you delete? Do you have fatigue of the screen, right? I'm looking, I'm moving. Oh, where was that? I can't find it. I need it. It's important. What do you do when it's important? You print it. You want to hold it, right? So we say that what you print that on is just as important as just printing it on good old coated white paper. With that, everybody is fatigued. We're tired, right? When you want something that's important, you print it. Your wedding album, right? You go, is Michelle here? Your wedding album, right? You go, I want to have this forever. It's important to me. I'm not going to ever trust that it's going to be in here and it's going to be okay. Well, we're seeing with lots of collateral, whether it's a company like Google, you know Google, our friends who sort of own the internet. Google just printed a tabloid-size piece about 1 inch thick. It's data. Wait a minute, it's Google. They own data, right? They printed it for a sales mechanism to be able to sell YouTube ads. So they wanted the data to show these people on YouTube are pulling this information. But they didn't feel it was strong enough doing it in here, which is so interesting. So I call on Google, and they don't have a print buyer. They have lots of creatives that understand data, but they don't have anybody on staff that understands print, which is kind of crazy, right? They're hiring somebody to handle print, which is wonderful. So we looked at that and said, how do we help designers and communicators do something a little differently? And we said, we think this is it, sort of a tool or a manual to help you with some strategies to be able to actually use color and texture in what you do. And it's selfish. We're using color and texture because we are a mill that can make color and textured paper. So to start off, it's got this beautiful wrap. I say, go ahead, take the wrap off. Undress the book, right? Take a moment. You say, wow, it's beautiful, right? Ultra lava, memorable. Isn't that what we're here to do, right? And we say, you can keep it or you can discard it. Really, it just has a few little tips on how to work with a printer in it. You will see when you come out to the showcase floor, there's also a version with a green cover that we're giving printers to tell them how to work with you. Because guess what? Sometimes people are very young and don't know, and sometimes people forget. So we're giving you little reminders of things to do. So you can keep it or you can recycle it. So what I say is, you know, you hold this and it's just beautiful, right? One of our employees said to me, if we had printed this on 80-pound text and saddle stitched it and just printed it blue, would you have the same feel? No, you probably wouldn't, right? So it's using Grandee, that really gorgeous texture in there. It's double mounted, and yes, you may open it up. Take a gander. So in here, we're going to show you a couple of strategies. First, on what the analogy to the web is, and it's really a restaurant. You say, you can eat at a restaurant and have a beautiful meal. You go out for your anniversary. You want to do something special for your family. You know you're going to get a beautiful meal with beautiful ingredients. Or you can eat at a cafeteria. And if you eat at a cafeteria, what are you going to get? A plastic plate, something fast. Yes, you'd be nourished. It would get the job done quickly. We're giving the analogy to the web, right? You can nourish yourself and get data out there quickly, but is it doing the same job? Is it communicating the same message? We say we're not sure. I won't read you all the copy, but I will say I think the copy is really well done, really, really strongly written. Hybrid Design in San Francisco did this, Dora Dramalis and her team. If you don't know them, she's a brilliant designer. Look her up. So we say the materials that you use really matter in the piece that you're doing, right? If the whole brochure was Times Roman and it was all 24 point, you'd say to yourself, well, that was easy, right? If nobody looked at the kerning or the leading on the type, you'd say you didn't do your job well. If all the pictures cropped the top of the person's head off, it wouldn't be a job well done. Well, why would you not think about the substrate that you're going to use for that? So take a flip. So the first is choosing paper by feel. So I used to sell printing for a living. For many years, that was my job before coming to Mohawk. And when I did that, I used to do a silly test with designers. And if you were new and I hadn't ever called on you, I would bring in a basket of bandanas and I would blindfold you. First thing in print sales is to be memorable, right? Because there's lots of us calling on you. Please, I want your business, blah, blah, blah. So I would blindfold you and I would say, Feel Time magazine. And people would go, feels kind of cheap, right? Feel the newspaper. You know what newsprint feels like. Then I would start having you feel 130 superfine. Or I would have you feel, 100 cover, 100 text. How does it make you feel? What about linen, right? Ooh, that's kind of interesting, right? And I didn't do it to be weird or creepy to blindfold people. I did it because I was paid on the total amount of the job, right? So if you were using ground wood number 2 coated, the bill would have been X. But if I could always upgrade you to a more beautiful piece of paper, A, I had better samples, B, your job was more effective, and C, the bottom line was more. And so I became the blindfold person, which was kind of funny in the town that I live in. But it was effective. I sold a lot of printing. People remembered me. I had numbers of little tricks I did. What they did is they took that trick and put it into paper. So the first one is, don't look, but feel it. If you put your hand underneath and you say, how does that piece of paper make you feel? It's kind of cheap, a little thin, slippery, right? You look, you turn it over, and I think the creative is really kind of good that Bigfoot has become gluten-free, like really, like you care, right? But not really probably the message that you want to portray to your customer. And then we take you through some beautiful ones, whether it's the linen that just feels fabulous with the foil stamp. You say, is that what I want to have my customers feel be? We're seeing lots of customers actually put paper into their brand standards now. 3 days a week I spend in Manhattan calling on luxury brands. And I will tell you, people like Kate Spade have paper as part of their brand. They have a Pantone, and now they have a paper. And I'm seeing it more and more and more, and I'll pass around some samples at the end. So, that's what you want people to think, heavyweight kind of texture. I want to go there. And then the next one, which is just so beautiful. So here, printed indigo, cotton. Think about old technology, paper made out of cotton, with indigo, new technology. How beautiful that is with a blind emboss. Really gives you that wow look and feel. And then the last, on felt, Mushrooms. I love it when I see something printed on a really heavy, shiny piece of paper that in real life is never shiny. Like, when have you ever seen a shiny mushroom? I get, a lot of times you want to put it on a coated piece of paper, but I would say look at the product and see, is it ever that? Probably not. So, how beautiful that panel card is. David Prince, we do a lot of work for, and he just thought this was fabulous, that textural feel. And then how does it make you feel? I won't go completely over embodied cognition. If you're gonna go hear Danielle speak, he's gonna talk about haptics, and that's the study of feel. How does it make you feel? What is the emotional connection between your forefinger and your thumb to your brain, and how does that work? And it had a lot to do with the texture and the weight of the paper, and he's gonna talk about that. Then we go to texture. So we're going to give you 3 ways to use textured paper. And I will say that the last one to me is the most brilliant, but each of them, I guess depending on what you're marketing, have a great place. The first one is matching the texture to actually the piece. So feel that blanket. It feels like the blanket would feel using Carnival Hop Sack. It's exactly the same ridginess that you would feel. So you match the paper to what you're doing. The next one would be to contrast the texture. And this one could be really fun. I have a piece here for Kate Spade that does this really well. So really beautiful felt on the cover, that nubby, right? You feel like you're sort of in the forest when you feel it, for the cover of the piece with a die cut, and then inside the smoothest of the smooth, Navajo smooth. So that you're really, you're saying, wow, what was that cover? That's the heft and the weight. Here is the messaging, which is wonderful. And then my favorite, so Mount Washington Pottery did a couple things really smart here. First, if you look at the little hang tag, you can see there's a decal edge. See that little edge? You see it a lot in wedding paper and envelopes. That we're seeing it go more mainstream. I was at VSA Partners a few weeks ago, and I had a group of 30 or 40 designers, and we're standing around the table talking about beautiful things. And I showed a piece with decal edge, and the designer, who was 21, said, "That is the coolest paper I ever saw." And I said, oh my God, I've just gotten old. It's happened, right? What's old is new again. So decal is hot, I hear. The decal, if you come to see us, and we happen to be making decal that day, it happens by each side of the paper machine, just a little stream of water pushes away the pulp before it's dry. It's called the pisser. So we love making jokes about the pisser. So if you come, maybe we're making decal that day, which is always fun. So here on the same press sheet, they used a printer that said, hey, let's save some money and do this the right way. The hang tags are down the sides with the decal edge. The panel cards are down the middle, making it one job, very easy, no waste to the decal, because a lot of times it's hard to design to the width of the sheet unless you're doing a big fold out and have them fold in to have the decals work. So it's a great way to be able to do something really interesting and help the printer, right? One job, it's just cutting and a little drilling, making it very easy. So here, it literally feels like you would think the pottery feels. And then another one of my workmates did something really interesting with this. Tore it out of the book and stapled it so that you couldn't tell that it was a waterfall, and said, there is exactly what you want to see. You just feel it with your hand, from smoothest to roughest. So superfine smooth being really beautiful tactile sheet. That's what the initial video was all about, making superfine. So here, as you flip through them, the first one, very smooth, what you would think for an uncoated piece of paper. The next one, options vellum, just a little teeny bit of tooth there. You know, it hasn't been calendarized to be extremely smooth. Then laid, that laid finish, really kind of interesting, old paper making, right? And then enhance, a sheet that I don't see used enough. If you have a Strathmore swatch book, I would say take a look at enhance. It's a gorgeous piece of paper. Loop linen, high recycled content, but also that beautiful linen feel, those little marks. I had a designer ask me the other day, what is that paper that has little lines that go this way and this way? I said, it's called linen. And she said, I really like that. I said, good, are you a lawyer? Because they like it too. Then Curious Matter. So this is interesting, and make sure you stop by our table later. Curious Matter is a sheet that is in the Curious collection. We do not manufacture this grade. We rep it in North America. It is made by Arjo Wiggins. It's made in Aberdeen, Scotland. And it's a crazy paper. I still am dying to know, and I have not heard the answer. So this uses recycled potato starch. That is a byproduct of making French fries and potato chips in the wastewater into the pulper to make paper. So I want to know what the R&D guy was doing the night before when he said, so we're just going to try the wastewater from the potato chips and see what happens. Like, how do you even think that up, right? You know, it's just crazy. But what happens is it's at that beautiful sandpapery tactile feel. So if you're working on something and you don't want to have to put a textured coating on it, it's a fabulous way to be able to actually use it and get that feel. There's a couple magazines that use it. Wired, if you've ever picked up Wired magazine, right? Everybody shakes their head because you remember it, right? Something in your brain told you when you held it that there was something to that. So that is Curious Matter. And then the last is Groove, Carnival Groove. So we were looking at papers when we were working on this, and I was in the office that day, and my printer hat, could you come help us with the specification? Yes. So I said, absolutely not. We can't use Groove. Groove is too groovy, right? It'll look cheap and tacky, and it won't work. I said, I nix the Groove. I think it's too groovy. I was wrong. I think it's so fabulous. It's almost like a little veneer of the wood has been taken off, right? And this art is really interesting. It's in one of our makers. And if you're not signed up for that, stop by the table today. We'll sign you up for that too. Comes out quarterly and it's fabulous. But from smooth to really rough, and this artist literally cuts out of the wood and puts glass in, so it's very smooth to very rough. So what a phenomenal image to be able to use to showcase the waterfall. So color. We're now on to color. So how many of you have printed on colored paper in the last 6 months? How many of you are going to print? Oh, I'll ask that after. Every one of you will be. And you probably don't print on colored paper for 2 reasons. 1, you don't know what your images are going to look like, right? 2, how do you sell a customer on using a colored piece of paper when you can't show them what the colored piece of paper is going to look like till the end, right? And 3, it's probably easier just to print the color, correct? Okay, I'm going to show you some ways to alleviate all of the above. First is, and for those that have ever worked in a print shop or for the printers in the room, they're going to love this strategy. So this is a strategy when you want to paint a sheet and have it be absolutely perfect every sheet, every time, no model, consistency from one side to the other. Printers don't love to do it. They'll do it, and with the equipment here, the new Komori will do it. But a lot of people don't have the ability to do it. Here, the paper is the color. So we're using paper as part of the picture. It is the 5th color in the element. Now, do you need an illustration that has Pantones or solid colors? Yes, you do. Could you use it with type or halftones? Yes, you could. But it gives you the ability to have color consistency throughout and a beautiful edge. We always know, right? You can tell in my book which pages are printed and which are not, right? You can tell because the top edge is white. So you look at the front cover, it is not white. So that's a solid piece of dyed paper. You get to the yellow, you say the same thing. Even the edge is beautiful, right? All about the details. So Olympia Zagnoli, Italian illustrator. If you don't know her work, we've featured her a few times. She's all about doing things that don't match. Colors that you're not supposed to put together. And I didn't go to art school, so I don't ever follow those rules, but I hear that she does some crazy things. So the next is enhancing photography. And this is my favorite. This is the smartest thing that I've seen in 20-something years of being in this business. So here we're using colored paper. We're putting 4-color process on top of it. And by the way, there's no trickery in this book. And by trickery, I mean we're a paper mill. We print extra hits of this and that. We reinforce color. We might put a dense black. We may put a white underneath. We do trickery to make everything look better than life, right? We decided a couple years ago that we don't do that in our promotional pieces, in our swatch books, or in our tools. Everything that we do is anything that any of you could afford to do and any printer can do. So here we've taken an image, beautiful, looks like it's a girl sitting at a loom in a white shirt, right? But it is not. A couple of tricks are going on. One, the designer put cream next to it, which helps it not look white. And two, it's surrounded by blue because it's actually on blue paper. So a 4-color process image, depending on what your images look like, give you the ability to do something really kind of interesting. You know, how neat that you wouldn't have to flood the back of the page with a color when you're using a light enough colored paper to be able to have it be part of the picture. And then we're using loop husk with just a halftone on it to really be beautiful. And you look at that and you say, gosh, how interesting that is. I say when the world got 4-color, 6-color, 8-color, 10-color, 12-color presses, this kind of work went away. We don't see duotones and tritones and quad tones and 4-color blacks like we used to. I say bring them back. You know, yes, you have 4 units on the press, but you don't have to use them all. Or you can support it with an additional black or something. Bring them back. People are really interested in this. This is the page that we get more comments on than any other page. And it's black on a colored piece of paper. How simple, how classy, right? The other thing here is, so this is showing process, very cool in shade. This is showing product, very warm in shade, really interesting trend. So it's another way of tricking your mind as you're flipping through a book. The warm is one, the cool is the other. Kind of an interesting way that I have not seen before, that I think is just brilliant. Here, you gotta take them out. You gotta pull them out of the envelope. So immediately upon picking them up at the envelope, everybody does this. Then they do this. Then they do this. And then you flip them over. So if you look at the response rate of something that's not printed, that's just embossed, you've already spent more time with this than you're spending with almost anything else you look at. A number of reasons. One, it's very fine. So you go, oh, what does that say? Oh, oh my goodness, and you immediately think as a designer, because now I can talk for you, I can do it that small? Yes, you can do it that small. So what a beautiful emboss, whether it's black, you know, stunning and memorable, or, you know, a little classier and shiny, neat, or right in your face. How interesting. And that they're all put into a craft envelope. This is my pitch for the envelope part of our business. We manufacture envelopes by the billions and billions and billions. We have 2 facilities, one in Ohio and one very close to here. How far away is it, Becky?
Well, it's South
Hadley, wherever the...
So maybe an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. And that's an interesting thing for a paper mill. To have envelope converting capabilities. It means I want to come talk to you about designing the envelope. Just like the materials are often forgotten, the envelope is left last, right? I'll get to the envelope. I got to get to the envelope. What size? Is it available? Do I need the colors or texture? What kind of flap do I need? We say, please bring the envelope to the front. Put it in the creative brief. Talk about the envelope. Imagine, if you will, an envelope where you can have a circle in the back window. I can do design on a flap. What if you were doing a brochure for a fashion brand and you were putting it in an envelope and you pinking sheared the back of the envelope? I can do that. What if you were doing something and you could laser cut something out of a flap and have a color show through of what you're inserting? I can do that. As long as you stay away from the bad L at the bottom, right? I can put a window over here. It can be square. It doesn't have to have rounded corners like everybody thinks it does. I can put a square on the front, a round on the back. You can now design it. Think about this for a second. You do an envelope and you just do a pretty colored envelope and you have something popping through the window of your materials. You're getting a 4-color impression on an envelope without having to pay for a 4-color envelope. Pause, because that was so smart, Molly. I know. Okay, so the envelope, please bring it up. Bring it to the front. Let's talk about it. Let's see it. If you have a PDF, send it to us. We'd love to look at it. Maybe we can make suggestions. I just saw the most beautiful envelope. I wish I sort of, no, I'll do it on this. So I just saw the most beautiful envelope. Pretend this is the envelope. And we know squares cost more. That's my advertising. So here it was die cut almost like an eyelet fabric, little holes with little scallops here and here. And the card that fit through had a red and a green panel that went through the envelope. It's somebody's holiday card we're working on. You go, that's the smartest thing. Design the envelope, please. Because we have, 500 people employed that would love to make the envelopes for you. So yes, sometimes it's just the materials. Memorable, you're gonna put this book down, you're gonna go, you know what, that blind emboss was really beautiful. That was really beautiful. We're getting there. We're making it to the end. So here, we're taking the same image. We're putting 2 colors on it, a black and a PMS. And the PMS is a metallic. Note for yourself, whenever you're using a metallic on an uncoated piece of paper, you need to hit it twice or it's not going to look metallic. It's going to look a little muddy and you're going to be angry at the printer, and it's not the printer's fault. So 2 hits of the black, 2 hits of the metallic, and flip through. How does it make you feel? What do you think from the standpoint of mood, thought? You say, I don't know. First time I saw it, I thought I loved the metallic. And then I was like, no, dusk blue, this is my world. I feel happy here. And then somebody else will say, no, I feel better here, right? So sometimes look at the difference of what it can do to you. Just as I get to the red, I don't like the red at all. I just feel it's way too Christmassy. Yellow's okay. So that color can make such a difference in how you feel and how the images are projected. Favorites? Dusk blue, metallic. I like the metallic, right? In our curious line. So kind of an interesting theory on color and texture. If I had to boil it down to the crib notes for you to take back to somebody in the office, I would say to the marketers in the room, there's a couple, cool for service, warm for product, makes my head explode. how smart that is, right? So subliminally, you can have a conversation and you're not even having the conversation. So for me, that would be takeaway number 1. Takeaway number 2 would be anything's possible in the envelope, right? Anything's possible with an emboss. How gorgeous that is. And then if you want more information, you flip to the back. And because we like lots of stuff, we'll start from this side and work forward. The Makers Quarterly will have sign-up cards at our table. It does come out quarterly. We are about to have our 10th issue, and every time they get better and better. I will tell you, it is not salesy in your face. Really, it's content. We're featuring people that are making beautiful things or transforming something into something else, and we're talking about them, showing them in a beautiful print technique. That is 1. Number 2 is we literally have started with just a tabloid, not stitched piece, to the one that's about to come out is exceptional. It is a folder with 4 full-size big posters that fold out with really interesting stories on the back. So I will say sign up so that you get that in the mail, because people look forward to them. Felt and Wire, our blog, if you don't know about it, you can get it either through our site, Mohawk Connects, or feltandwire.com. And I will tell you, we're always looking for stories. If you're working on something neat, you're working on a customer and they could use a little PR help, you could use a little PR help, you know what, we'll help you, we'll help them, and we'll help ourselves. We'll write a story, we'll feature you on the blog. We love that, and we love samples. Lots of them. So let's say you're working on a project and you need to see an 8-color job on superfine with a die cut that's for the vertical insurance. You can send a note and we can look in our database, and if we have it, we'll send it to you. Education, we have a huge education series. Paper basics, printing basics, and envelope basics. If you haven't seen these, they're great tools to put in your resource area with your swatches. And we have 2 of them with us today. We have paper and envelopes. And then swatch books. If you haven't gotten a new set, if you're still in the slim swatch era that we had, we have not revolutionized the world by the slim swatch. We are now back to the big swatch. So a swatch set now is 22 pounds. So I say stop by, we'll send you a set. And then our website connects. Everything we do is there. A recap of our grades, should you need an update. We happen to have Becky Thomas in the room. She worked in inside sales for many years for us. She will now be handling this territory, doing what I do here. So she's a resource. So you're working on a project, you need an update of swatches, you need a dummy, you say, I'm not sure what paper to use, or what do you think about this technique? So Becky will be in the area a few days a week and will absolutely love to pop in your studio and help you out. And welcome to Mohawk. And just for the record, we had our first team meeting at 11 o'clock today, and Becky missed it. Just saying. So I thought I would pass around some great examples of people that are doing interesting color and textures. There's a great piece for Kate Spade where she uses a real beautiful textured sheet on the front, and it's actually their brand book, which when you get a hold of it, you won't want to move on to the next person. Yeah. There's one for perennial rugs, and literally it's a French folded piece that feels just like a rug. There, Modi Operandi, just such a beautiful piece. It's all about the ingredients there. There's a piece for the Chinese New Year cards for David Yurman on Curious Skin Red. So that gorgeous feel of paper, just with a foil stamp, just to say, wow, spectacular. Casper mattresses. Is that big here now online too? So Casper Mattress is a good customer of ours in New York. And this is sort of their welcome kit that they just did this beautiful foil on the cover. We just love that it's just a little bit of texture. So those are some of the people that are actually, doing what we're talking about and loving it. And we love companies like Kate Spade that are actually adding a paper specification into, it's only PMS such and such, it's only font XYZ. That really then every time you pick it up, you know it. You think about color, right? If I held up something that was Tiffany blue, I wouldn't even need to tell you who it was. Or I held up a soda can and most of it was red, you'd know exactly who it is. How important color is in what we do every single day. So that's that. Feel free, if you want more of these, Becky would love to come present it at your studios to your coworkers. She's as chatty as I am, so you'll love that. And she brings the Mohawk goodies with her when she comes. So, feel free. We'll have cards at the table tonight. So thoughts, comments, questions? Crickets? Oh.
All the papers you're showing us, are they all user-friendly with digital, or are we talking mostly
Great question.
offset?
Great question. I would say we have the most robust portfolio for digital there is, and we do have color and texture. Here they happen to have great equipment. They have indigos, and so they can do everything. We have a technology on our paper for indigo called iTone. If you ever see that in a specification, that is our proprietary process that goes into the pulper with the pulp. It wraps all those little fibers so that when they go to put the toner on it, it actually adheres in the high 90%. Everybody else on the planet is in the 80%. That means they're losing 20% of their dots, and we're not. So imagine what your pictures, the crispness of your picture. So I would say we have a very robust, whether it's a felt or a linen, we have, a dozen colors. I would say that portfolio will be expanding now that Indigo has done a 10,000 and a 12,000, the larger format. So that will be adding a lot more to that also. But yes, we have a lot, and if you want samples, give me your card. We're happy to send them. Great question. Yes.
Is this one actually wood?
So great. Oh, I didn't even talk about it. Yes. So that is a really cool piece. That's a piece that I went to see a printer just outside of Dallas, Texas, because I'd heard he'd done work for the Dallas Cowboys, and my son was a Dallas Cowboys fan then. And so I said, this printer, he's going to have some goodies, right? So I had a major layover in Dallas. I rented a car. I drove to this place. It was like one of those places that has steel garage door that came down that you were like, I shouldn't be here. But I knocked on the door, and I have 3 daughters. Like I would tell my daughters never. But I was like, it's got to have goodies, because when you're a print person like me, and you just, can I have one, right? So I knock on the door. He comes out, and hi, Molly from Mohawk, blah blah blah. So I said, I hear you have really great samples of Dallas Cowboys stuff, and I was on this layover, and blah. And he goes, come on in. I'm thinking to myself, the garage door's going down, and this is bad. But anyways, where's the samples, right? So he takes me to the sample room. And literally, it was like I didn't want to leave. He was organized. The place was in shambles, but the sample room was exceptional. And yes, he had beautiful Dallas Cowboy things with lucite covers and crazy. But he gave me this. This is a piece that he did for that architect, and it's literally veneer of aspen. He went to Colorado, found an aspen tree, had it cut down, had it veneered to be able to do that job. And I thought, for texture, if there's not a conversation about being memorable, I don't know what it is. The unit cost on that piece was $218 a piece. Look how many pages are in it. None. But it's for condos in Aspen. And of course I had to be Aspen, right? But when he gave it to me, he told me it was $218. The door was down. I was like, I can't run for it. I said, well, I don't have $218. I can give it to you. But I said, I just love this piece. I have to have this piece. And so he gave it to me. But I think it's just exceptional. Yeah, I mean, it's such a memorable. It's memorable.
Because if you look at it initially, it's like, this is too thin.
It's right. There's no way, right? So they veneered it like you would veneer a dining room table. Yeah, but it's that haptic, and you'll go hear Danielle talk about the haptic of it, right? Memorable. Any other questions? Thoughts? What's your next project on colored or textured paper? Gosh, come on. Even if it's pale yellow or pale green or something, look at your images, right? Reach out to us. When Becky's working for you, I will tell you, she's like a dog with a bone. She will send you so many packages, you won't know what has happened to you. So reach out to her. She's lovely. She supported us in the field. She was our in-house support for a long time, so she knows the trials and tribulations of what designers go through.
I do have another question.
Oh, I love that. No, don't be sorry.
How often do you feel that you should update your papers? I find that's the biggest frustration I have, is having the days where I used to be able to spec everything, those days are gone. Now I'm constantly pulling papers out of my swatch things that, oh, they don't make that anymore. Oh, that was bought by so-and-so.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gone.
Yeah.
And I mean, my stuff was updated probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, and some of it's still.
So I will tell you, the paper business has had huge consolidation over the years. I mean, we are multiple mills today under the Mohawk name. I would tell you, do you have a merchant that you work with? So I would say to the merchant, I need you to come in and tell me what's good and tell me what's not good. Becky certainly can handle it on our side and make sure that you have everything for us that's up to date, but there's been so much consolidation that, yes, and then you specify it and then they say it's not made anymore. And then you, I found one carton, right. So great question, Yes?
I don't know if this is more of a question or more of like a philosophical discussion point, but we always really struggle with our brand being environmentally conscious, but having a really great quality print piece, and we do still print a lot. We put, dozens of brochures.
Thank you.
And these are beautiful, but I feel like we can't really say like, oh, we're environmentally friendly, and then here's our 400-page catalog on like a beautiful.
So I will tell you, we have two things. One, we have an entire line called Loop. Come to the table, we'll give you a swatch. Everything's at least 30% post-consumer, up to 100% post-consumer. Everything we manufacture is manufactured with wind energy. Think about that. You can use that logo also on your piece, and when Becky comes in, she can give you all of that environmental stuff. The other thing is we manufacture a piece of paper in our options line that has ink swell in it. And ink swell is also chemistry that makes bad fiber look good. And what happens is there's 100% post-consumer in there that makes 100% post-consumer paper look fabulous. What happens is the dot hits, and then uncoated paper, you get a little bit of spread, get a little bit of gain. With this paper, because of what's on the surface of it, it doesn't feel coated. It still feels uncoated, but the dot doesn't spread. So you have crisp, beautiful 4-color reproduction without having to compromise to say, I have to put it on a shiny piece of paper. And it's 100% post-consumer. So it's a beautiful piece of paper. And we do, I think we do have a piece that's printed 4-color to show you too. So, and Becky can bring bags in of that. So yes, great question. Great question.
Do you have any case studies that show that clients truly had a lift in response if they upgraded their papers?
Yes. So I will tell you, DirecTV did a certain thing. They took just, I think it was 500,000 envelopes out of their 15 or 20 million run, and we put it on a textured fibered paper, just the envelope. They had double-digit response on just that little bit, which is a wonderful segue for me. So we're making the offer. If you're working on a direct mail program and you have an end user that will share the data with us, we will give you the envelopes for that if you use color or texture. But we have to get the data back. Shawmut will work with us to be able to do that. We are looking for many more stories, especially on the envelope, because what happens, and it's on the hall, it says it's on the wall in there. 85% of people sort their mail right before you do it. I'm thinking, don't 100% of people sort their mail right? I come home before I'm even to the kitchen. The Discover application is torn and thrown in the garbage, right? The ones that I may read catalogs in bed before I go to sleep goes in another pile, right? We all sort our mail. And anything in a colored or 4-color printed envelope is interesting maybe I'm going to open it because of who I work for, but yes, data is very important to us. And we have lots of case studies, you know, people like Kate Spade or Tiffany that are saying the paper is much more important than we ever thought. We want it to be memorable, like the laminate, like the Aspen piece. So yes. Anybody else?
As a designer, how would I design something like this? Or is this like, is printing on colored paper something that's done on production end? So say I have this design and I've
Yep. So you would set up a file with separate colors in it, right? You'd say, you know, here's where I want, just like if you were printing a job that was 4-color process and you were specifying Pantone for the headlines.
Okay.
It would be exactly the same. That would be it. They would be solids, and they would print just like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's no kind of weird color
There's no
scheme?
trickery. No, no. It is what it is, and the paper just sort of shines through, and it's consistent throughout. So yeah, good question though.